7:00 p.m. I will call the meeting to order for February 14th, 2019. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Calvin.
Here.
Gonzalez.
Here.
Lisa Jeff.
Here.
Lonzo.
Here.
Novik.
Here.
Pelletier here. Uzo.
Here. So first we have the approval of minutes. I will make a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes for January 10th, 2019.
Second.
Any questions or corrections?
Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes on January 10th, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, executive session. I'll make a motion to approve the executive session minutes for January 10th, 2019. Any questions or corrections?
All those in favor of approving the executive session minutes for January 10th, 2019, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Next, public comments, agenda items only?
You took me?
Yes.
I have a hard time here because the door is open. It's about.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I just came here because I wanted to make a comment about something that happened about a month ago in the computer room. And I talked to Ms. Mayberry about it, and then they were gonna look into it. But as I was at the computer in the corner, this guy came in next to me. He looked at my screen and made comments about it, what I was doing and everything like that. He sat down next to me. Every time I was there, he kept looking over and made little comments. I could tell he was drinking. So, but I didn't want to say anything because, nowadays you gotta be careful when you walk outside if we're waiting for you. But then I talked to Ms. Mayberry and said, maybe you should just get privacy screens. All the other libraries around you get privacy screens. It's Skokie, you ask for them, they give it to you. And she said, she would look into it. But I also put in suggestion box and I also put the ad for the privacy screen, what they use at the Skokie Library. It goes on and it comes off, or like Lincoln Wood in Chicago now, they have permanent ones. They stick on and they stick off. And basically all it does is block the view from the sides. Because your things up there aren't very high. The old ones used to be high, the old wood cases. But these are kind of low, you always could glance over. And I had this problem with other people too, occasionally, but this was the worst one. Because I could tell, because I'm an old guy, I could tell when somebody's been drinking the night before, coming in a hangover. And he just made me uncomfortable. I couldn't go into my Gmail because email, I didn't want to, so they might get on there, they wanted to see. And she says she's gonna look into it, but that's been like about 5 weeks ago. I don't know what they're gonna do about it, but I thought maybe the board should be aware. Because that room was kind of small up there, there's really not much privacy. You got tables behind you where people can sit there and look at your screen. And now with all this fraud, people could be there with their phone to just, copy what you have on there. I thought it might be a good idea to, invest a little money and buy some of those. I couldn't really find how much they cost, but there's different prices. All you basically need up there is about 10 of them.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Right, yeah.
Did you left your contact information with?
No, I just, I put it's just that I put something in the suggestion box, I wrote a little note
Okay.
with a copy of what the screens look like, privacy screens,
Mm-hmm.
and I just put my name down there, and so I signed it with my name.
Okay.
Back, I think it was like second week in January I did that. 'Cause the incident, the problem I had was like January 8th. It was a young guy, maybe his early 20s. And I said, I think the boards be aware, maybe, you could get, contact Miss Mayberry and, possibly buy some in the future.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Right.
Any questions for that?
No.
Okay. We're gonna move on. President report, I just wanna share that, I think the staff has been doing a really great job with the Polaris migration. I know it has been a lot of work, and I've had several people tell me how patient the staff has been, just kind of accommodating the patrons, because it's an adjustment for everybody, I think, so. So next, committee reports, we have finance.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, approve, accept the financial reports for January 2019. Are there any questions? Comments?
I'm making the assumption, some of these revenues and expenses that seem very large for the first month are partial payments or partial projects. There's several of them.
You're looking at the income statement?
The lost materials payment, well, on revenue, the lost payment.
Those are monies coming in,
Yes, I know.
so and we would book that money, when we got it. That could have been material that had been lost for a while, like sometime this year. And so that's just when we get it, we have to, we
Okay.
put it in when we get it.
Because all three of them were higher than expected, I guess.
So, yeah, so I mean, those are all revenues, those higher ones,
Right.
so, you know, as we get those monies.
Which is nice.
Yes, exactly, we put them
I'm not
in.
complaining.
There are a couple of higher expenditures as well, particularly,
Well, the web maintenance. make sure.
staff support databases, those are like one-time fees that you
That's
come
what I
in right
figured
now.
on those.
The web maintenance improvements, half of that payment, or the reason that's so high is we paid the first half
Yeah.
for the web development team, and then we'll pay them the second
Yeah,
half.
I wasn't so worried.
when that's
about
done, which will
the
actually be in
expenses,
October.
actually.
Yeah, so.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
Oh, I do. What was check 3057 written for? I had a question about that. I had a question for that too.
So this is not Paul Burke that used to be on the board.
Oh, okay.
It's
Sorry,
another
that's what I was
program.
thinking. Is he working on a program that I don't know if he's got questions?
Every time I approve that, I always have to check myself on it. It's another program presenter. The
Okay.
Adult Services Department has a presenter, he does programs on travel.
Cool. I had a question about that too.
Any more?
Okay, we will go to approve or accept the financial reports from January 2019. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mizajek,
Yes.
Monzo,
Yes.
Novick,
Yes.
Pelletier, Puzo,
Yes.
and Calvin.
Yes.
Facilities, I don't think is met. Policy we did not meet, so then staff reports.
So the only thing that I wanted to add to my written report, which I think I covered about everything I did, which was kind of a crazy month, is if you look at the statistics, you will notice that in many areas, they're not filled in. And I did also include just a portion of the statistics that CCS gathers for us. And so, because we were previously a standalone institution, it was really easy to count circulation stats. I would use that one as an example. But as you can see from some of the statistics, we can count check-ins and check-outs at both our location, check-outs that our patrons make at other locations, check-outs that patrons of other libraries make at our library. So there's a whole slew of other circulation data that we can now have access to, and that we will probably want to track. Jeff and I will be putting together some potential alternative statistic tracking for the board. So hopefully by March we'll have that, if not by March, then by the April meeting. But we wanna, he and I are gonna take a look at all of the statistics and make sure that we understand exactly what's being counted and how it's being counted so that we can present it to the board in a way that makes sense to you guys. But as you can see, there is not any longer kind of that apples to apples comparison, and we just need to make sure that we're counting those statistics so it makes sense to us and that we can actually make some comparisons to previous years as well. We've already seen just kind of, the other thing with January is because we were half a month on Circe Dynex and half the month on Polaris, there's still some disconnect there. But we already see, I mean, our circ stats are back up to normal, there's already been an increase in, items that are going out. Like this month alone, we've sent out over 1,000 items to other libraries.
Wow.
So, those are materials that were sitting on our shelf not being used, and now they're being used by other patrons, so we're really thrilled by that.
The
So,
number's amazing.
yeah, so that's, and that's great, because like I said, if there's a hold on something or it's checked out here, obviously it's not gonna go out, so, it's great to have our materials being used as well. And then we're, seeing, like, we get anywhere from, we would get delivery every night, and it would come in one bin, basically, it was about this big. And now we get anywhere from 8 to 10 of those, so our patrons are getting books from other libraries as well. So just kind of anecdotally, things seem to be going pretty well with that. And patrons seem to like that. But, you can see now the holdings of so many other libraries, and it makes it just so much easier to get that material. But like I said, Jeff and I will be working on putting together some statistics that, will make sense to the board and be easy to understand, because this is really, there's just so much information here.
Right.
But I just wanted to give you kind of an example of the kinds of things that we can see. And, just to see where our patrons are going and that kind of thing.
Will we get this one every month?
You can if you want to see it.
Oh, no, I was just wondering.
Yeah,
We're gonna keep this one.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
the other thing too is that I've been looking at the statistics just in general as well, and wanting to give, I know at one time we had some more kind of visual, like graphs and those kinds of things, just so the board could more easily see trends. So I'm looking at making things a little bit more exciting for you guys as well, a little more interesting, a little more color if nothing else.
Put some color
Yeah.
bars in there.
So I'm gonna, kind of play around with the presentation of the statistics, but, I'll go through and kind of choose what I think the board thinks is important, or information that I think you guys need to make decisions and that kind of thing. If you look over these more carefully, if you're bored one night, and you think there's something great that you really want to see every month, just drop me an email and let me know that you want to make sure that you do see that. But CCS pulls these all together for us, and we just pull them from there, so it's really nice. From an administration standpoint, this is really awesome, because it's really a lot of information to make decisions about.
Sure.
Well, increase the physical demand on the library, running around with these books.
Well, there is increased, it's mostly the circulation staff that pulls the books that we send to other libraries, so we actually get what's called a pick list, and so throughout the day we see this list. We usually start in the morning, we run it a couple times, and then the circulation staff will go around and they'll actually collect the books, and they have a tablet that they can check in the books as they're collecting them, so it just shows that they're then in transit.
So how do they get from point A to point B?
There's a van delivery service. That
Is
this,
it included in?
yeah, that's actually, the state of Illinois has had that, our library system has had that for decades now, so we've done that. We have not, as a standalone institution, we didn't utilize it as much as now being part of the consortium. Obviously, there's a lot more items going between us and 24 other libraries, so yeah, there is a van delivery service. We usually get delivery in the middle of the night, about 3:40 in the morning, because I
You
can see
just
when they
stand
come
there
in the
waiting for
building.
it.
No, they actually have a fob to get into the building that's just for the van delivery driver. And we can see, I can track when he comes in and goes out and stuff, so, yeah.
That's great.
So-
And then he picks up at that
And
time
then
and
he picks up at
delivers
that time. So
time.
things that we're sending out, we pack back into those same bins that we got in. And then the delivery driver will come and take the ones that are full and drop off ours.
So what's the turnover if I got a book and then it was coming from another library? What's the turnover time?
Probably a couple days.
Couple days?
Yeah,
Oh,
2 to 3 days.
In like 3 or 4 days
Yeah,
from when I put the hold on.
Yeah,
So
sometimes
Right,
it
right.
depends on where they're coming and where we are in the route, you know,
Okay.
so, but yeah,
Okay,
so it's
that's
great.
not bad.
Very
No, I was.
If we're one after the last round, then that's where it's
Yeah,
going.
but it's not, it's every night, it's during the week, so there's no delivery on Saturday or Sunday nights, but Monday through Friday, there's delivery, so.
I had some questions about the narrative portion.
Okay.
The outsourced solutions group, they say they're gonna come in once every other week.
Mhm.
I imagine to handle problems and questions that come up. What happens if something goes wrong between this 2 weeks?
They actually, part of what they do when they come in is they set up all of our computers so they can be accessed remotely. And they're able to do a lot of work on the network and on individual
Without
computers
having to
remotely
come in.
without having to come
So
in.
they're coming in.
So coming in would be if there's things that particularly need to be done on site, like maybe setting up a new computer, that kind of thing. And they're also just here for that day if like people have like really minor things that they don't want to send in, but a majority, and especially as we move away from Macs to all PCs, because right now we're kind of in a mixed environment, that'll be even easier for them to do.
Okay, another question. You've changed from 2 staff in the children's area. One was an assistant and now is a full librarian. Does that affect your salary?
Yes, it will. So, but we do have some salary savings because of eliminating the IT position. And there's been a delay in filling the maintenance staff person. So those things have a tendency to balance out. And I do, usually on expenses, I try to anticipate those kinds of things and give us some cushion during the budget. So I anticipate that we should be okay throughout the year.
Okay. I had a couple others, but I don't remember exactly what I wrote. If anybody else has, take it away. I can't remember. I'm looking at my notes and I don't mean anything to me right now.
It was a busy month. Weather made it even crazier than usual. And,
You noticed.
but
It's a good thing there's no pipes that burst.
we did not, we had a little scare. I was telling Carlotta, we got a call from the village and they were saying, you know, we're getting a reading for the 6200 building that there's water running at the rate of approximately 90 gallons an hour. And it was the day after it was super cold and I was like, and I had just gotten all these different emails from different directors, their pipes had burst and stuff, so I was really nervous. So I went over there and it was, one of the toilets was running.
Oh.
So, because of, you know, showing the building, someone must have used one of the toilets, and so, yeah, so. And it's an old toilet,
The
so.
village, how's the snow removal working out?
Really well, they've been super, like, on top of things before we even open. They not only shovel, but they put salt down, and, you know, they're not charging us for that, so. I do believe, I don't think it was the village, I think it is actually someone hit our stop sign that was from the east alley, so.
I was wondering, it wasn't there?
Yeah, it's been, someone hit it, I don't know if it was a snowplow or a car, but we did notice that the other day. But the plowing
The
has.
cars are after the library, Bob.
I know, the
They're
drop
actually
box.
back.
Yeah, so.
Dangerous. The roof leaks, were they part of the new area?
No. It was part of the roof that was not
Not
redone,
done.
is my understanding, so, it's the area that if you're standing, let's say, in the St. Martha's parking lot and looking at the building, so my windows are on the far left. It's it's right after,
Yeah, I know.
there's
I-
like 4 or 5
yeah,
windows,
yeah.
because there's my window, Blanche's, and then there's an IT office window, and then when the roof starts slanting, that's right where that leak is coming in, as far as we could determine. The roofer was out, Waukegan Roofing came out, who was the roofer that fixed the bay window when that was
Uh-huh.
leaking, and they also did the roof during the renovation. And as I mentioned in my report, that they will, when weather permitting, they will come out, they'll remove like a 6 by 6 foot square area, remove all the decking, correct that. They think that the problem is that when that roof was installed, it was a while ago, so the ice and water shields
Is
are
that
not.
anywhere near where the wheelchair ramp is?
It's-
That was lifted up.
It's just, where the wheelchair ramp is, the roof is much taller. That's
Yeah,
still in
they
the taller
lifted it.
section.
They had lifted for the ramp.
Yeah, I don't think it's related to that.
Okay.
So he was actually up in the attic. I didn't go up there and see, but the
Yeah, I
representative,
would
the
just-
guy was.
Yeah, and
roofer.
just, because there should be some insurance or something.
No, not for that. So actually, it's not gonna, at least the proposal that they sent me was really inexpensive, actually.
Oh, that's
So
good.
it was only around, I think it was even less, I think it was like 1,900, it was between $1,900 and $2,000.
That's
So,
the lunch days.
yeah, so for roofing, I was a little nervous because when the water came in, it was in the adult services workroom, and you could see a big water bubble like forming. And then, and then I freaked out, and I'm looking at the ceiling and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how far does it go in? But it's still, I think a 6 by 6 area is fairly substantial. If you see the leak itself, it's not that big, but it's water and it travels, and so. Yeah.
My condo, there's leaks on the 6th floor and they're all the way down. The
Yeah.
hallways have all been opened up,
Yeah.
replacing all the.
Well, that was my concern as it ran down, and then I think Lima was actually here, and Natalia and I were down at the lower level,
Yeah.
making sure that it hadn't gone, because then my concern was it in the wall and was it going down to the lower level, but it doesn't seem to
But
be.
that ceiling has to be repaired.
Then the ceiling will have to be repaired.
But that's gonna be a separate cost.
Right, and that, staff may be able to do that, especially once we'll have, a full-time maintenance person, head of maintenance again, as about a week and a half. And, so yeah, but, they'll come in and they'll repair the roof and that kind of thing, but then we have to repair the
Right.
rest, so,
Right.
yeah.
And then you're waiting on Midwest Mechanical for the team space?
That they actually did today.
Oh, you don't think they did?
Yeah, that was much
Right.
faster than I thought, and so, that is done, which is great, because in technical services, the past 3 days, it's been about 60 degrees. So it's been really, the zone heat does not work for those areas. I don't know exactly what the problem was, but it's been problematic for us for a few years now. So now there's thermostats, there's sensors in both rooms, both the tech services workroom and then in the team room. There's one thermostat in the tech services room. There is not a thermostat open to the teams.
No, thank you.
But, so what it will do is, it will read the temperatures in those 2 areas and then average it out, and then emit heating or cooling as necessary based on
Okay,
that.
good, I'm
So,
glad that's done.
yeah, so that was done today, so I was, like I said, much faster than I anticipated. So, we have actually had some other issues with keeping it cool, especially in the computer room. Natalia's office upstairs, and that the ramp gets very warm. It's like a kind of a heat collector, but the computer room yesterday, and I think it was better this morning, but all day yesterday, like 2 days ago, Natalia's office was about 80 degrees, the computer room was about 80 degrees, and we were having a really hard time getting the temperatures down. So I've been talking to the technician that comes out to our building all the time about why this may be happening and ways that we can alleviate that. And so we're looking into a number of different things that are, not terribly expensive to hopefully alleviate some of that, but, you know, it's an old building, it's got a lot of different little areas,
Works.
so, but yeah, and, you know, no one's ever happy, someone's either too cold or too hot or whatever, so, but sitting in the computer room in 80 degrees is, yeah, that's warm, so.
One other question. You noted a couple of the staff that have been above average performances lately. And I was wondering, is this ever handled that the public is aware that these librarians or whoever were honored by in appreciation of their extra work?
No, I guess is the answer. I mean, quite frequently, if you know, I'll be made aware of something because the public has sent, you know, either sent me a note or, you know, put something in the suggestion box saying, you know, so-and-so, you know, gave great service today or whatever. That we don't really have any kind of mechanism or in place to do that.
Just a thought.
Yeah. We're talking about, you know, we try to recognize them at, you know, if we're doing like those things
Oh,
or
it's
in-house or
particularly nice to see
whatever.
Danka's name up there
Yeah.
because she, it was a little rough for a while with her.
Yeah, so she's been a very big help, you know, since Dave left, and so it's been really great. She's
Yeah,
really
that's
been
good.
helpful, so.
Remember the episode?
Any other
Any
questions?
other questions? This one, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for my time. I believe now, but, so I didn't want to be rude to just walk out, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for your concern.
Any other questions? Staff reports? Okay. Corporate council, do we have anything?
No, I've been in contact with Frank both about the employee issue and the building, which I can bring the board up to speed in my executive session.
Which leads us into unfinished business. Should we cover that in executive session?
Yeah.
Probably, okay. All right, new business, so staff and service half-day closure, April 5th, 2019.
So I'd like to ask the board's approval to close for half a day, that's a Friday, from 9 to 1 a.m., not 1 a.m., 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We try to do at least one staff and service. This one, I'm actually bringing in an outside speaker that I've seen speak a number of times, that I've had at other places I've been. They're gonna come in and do a presentation on managing change. Which I thought was very
How fitting.
apropos, yeah. But people are like, oh, it's, you know, but the change is all done, I'm like, oh, you know,
More to come.
yes, there's more to come, it feels like every day is a new thing. So the group that's coming in is called Face to Face Communications, it's two women that do these presentations, and they're very good. So, and like I said, we'll just be closed in the morning, and then open again to the public at 1 p.m.
And we were giving enough notice. I'll make a motion to approve half-day closure for staff in service on April 5th, 2019. Roll call for that?
Yeah, I would.
Masajek,
Yes.
Monzone,
Yes.
Kovic,
Yes.
Algeria, Kudo,
Yes.
Calamay,
Yes.
Gonzalez.
Yes.
Okay, then we have the outdoor sign proposal.
So as you may be aware, we have been without an outdoor sign for well over a year now. When our old wooden one broke. So, you know, it's been there for a while, and it was homemade. So we have had comments off and on since that had happened that, you know, we don't have an outdoor sign even though the name is on the building. Most people don't notice that if they're driving by. So it was my thought that it would be nice to have something that was a little more permanent looking, a little more kind of professional looking, if you will. So we did contact a couple of, this was last year sometime, we did contact a couple of different sign companies. And this was the proposal that we thought was the best. It kind of mirrors the look of the outside of the building. Signs are ridiculously expensive. I'm sure that everyone kind of gasped a little. This is one of the less expensive options that still has some permanence to it. If some staff had said, well, can we get a digital sign? And digital signs usually start at about $25,000 and up. So, and there would probably be some zoning things that we would have to deal with the village as well. And I don't think it's not the right fit for where our building is located. However, I do think that this one would be very nice. The lights, this would be in the same spot that the old one would be, or it was. There is already electric run there, and then this actually, the sign itself is like, there wouldn't be a light on the sign, like lighting it up, but there's lights behind the letters, so that you would see. Yeah, so it's like backlit, rather than a spotlight shining on it.
It
So,
looks really nice.
from this picture. Yeah, so when the salesperson was out, he's been out to our facility a couple of times. He thinks it would look nice, but kind of it's near the statue and that kind of thing. And then it leaves the other section of the lawn open for if we do like outdoor things, like, youth services will sometimes do things out on the front lawn. When we've done the front porch concert last year, and we're gonna have another one to kick off summer readings. So it does still leave us space in the front if we wanna do anything outside. As I said, I know it's not cheap. And I would, if the board does approve it, I would recommend that we use special reserve funds. We have about $117,000 in special reserves. So we could, and it would be appropriate to use for something like this.
As opposed to putting it towards the children?
Well, most everything else, if we sell the building, all of that money, my plan is to put that towards that. But there are other things that have to be done in the building,
I have a few questions about the sign. One in their proposal that says they're not responsible for damage to underground sprinkler systems, property, lighting, and other private and/or private utilities. Is that an issue that if they're going to be around the electricity, that it could be damaged?
Well, these are professional sign installers, and they'll have the appropriate staff out there. I do not believe that should be an issue, particularly in that location, because we're not, there's already electric that's run to that spot, so they don't have to run anything else. They're using all of the same electric that's there. I would be a little more concerned about that if we were putting it at another location, where we would have to run electric if we wanted, and they'd be digging. This has already been there.
Nowhere near.
I don't believe the sprinklers should be an issue in that location.
Just thoughts on that. The sign itself, Martin Road Public Library, 6140. I was wondering if there's any reaction of other people. I thought that Lincoln should be on there, 6140 Lincoln, but that's me.
Because it's a corner?
That's part of the reason, and just to be more specific, I'll go along with everybody's opinion. I don't care that much. It just occurred to me that
That could mean that it
6140.
almost looks like that's the number of the library, like if each building has a number in the system or something instead of an address.
It just struck
Looks
me
incomplete.
strange. I'm an old conservative person, so.
You want to add Lincoln on it?
Yeah, it'll take away from the sharpness of it.
Yeah,
It just occurred to me, does anybody else think it's an issue? Is what and if not, it's not that important.
I don't think I would add Lincoln, just because I think more words would take away
Clutter
from
it
the
out.
attention.
That's true.
Take away from the attention of,
I agree with you
library.
completely.
It's true.
It struck me both ways, basically.
Mhm, mhm.
The other question I have is that the brick color of the building? Is it the building?
No, they said they need to have somebody come out and assess so they match up more closely.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll match it
I
as
didn't
closely
catch
as they
that.
can.
Thank you.
Is that real
So-
brick?
It will be real brick.
It's like
Or
a
like a,
facade brick.
yeah, but it's,
Facade.
yeah, they will have that
It's not-
texture.
It's not a full brick, it's like a half brick is the way I'm saying. There's like aluminum behind it.
That's the way they build houses too,
Yeah.
so.
But it will,
So is there maintenance to this?
no, there should be no
And
maintenance
then
to that.
is there maintenance to the sign itself as
That's
far
what I was
as, I mean, is that white paint that's gonna chip? Does it have to be painted there?
Sounds like a floor, I think.
It says aluminum, I get that.
Right, it is a painted finish. It is
It's not wood,
probably, and
it's
it's,
all
But
aluminum.
I
It's
was
all
with you,
aluminum.
Carlotta, because when I read aluminum caps painted a textured finish, I'm like, anything that's painted. is
Yeah, that's
gonna
what I'm
require
saying. How much
maintenance and-
maintenance?
well, eventually it will require maintenance. The building needs to be painted too. I mean, so.
Well, yeah, but
it's-
I'm just thinking.
We're paying $20,000.
Yeah,
for
so,
20,000, you know.
anything like that is gonna have, there's gonna be some type of maintenance. So any of
Why aren't
the
the
kind of
caps
signs.
painted, I guess is my thing. Why aren't they
I
just
don't
stone? You know, like,
I would,
Well,
I
stone will weather
it's
and then
resemble
with
limestone.
water and ice, and, you know, anything,
but if
anything's
you
gonna
don't have to
weather.
maintain it, the stone just stays there. I have pillars with the stone cap on top.
absolutely.
Stones.
So we can get full brick, we can get non-painted, we can do all kinds of things if we wanna spend more money. So,
Do we have
My
any
sense is
idea, the signs that, for example, when you're entering Morton Grove, do we know what those signs cost?
I do not, I don't know where they got
All the
those.
population signs that are.
Yeah, you know, like, welcome
Yeah,
to Morton
yeah,
Grove, and
yeah.
the population and
They
little
have
motto.
the trees on it, or something,
Yeah,
you know, the symbol.
I'm not
I
saying
wonder
has
who
to be-
does it for the village. We could look
Exactly.
into that.
exactly.
Well, and some of those are weathering,
Those signs are wood.
They're wood, I know that.
And that was the problem with our other one. I mean, if you're concerned about maintenance, those actually require more maintenance than this.
The village will have to probably approve it.
Yeah, I mean, there will be permitting, yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask you, do we need insurance and permits, like, for this project?
The insurance that they should have, they will have their own insurance.
Okay.
And then I don't know what, I mean, I haven't talked to the village about permitting yet because
We
it
need to
hasn't.
approve it,
Right, right. So if the board wasn't gonna approve, I wasn't gonna talk to them about it if it wasn't necessary, so.
And are they gonna honor this price after the date that?
Yes, they
Okay.
knew that I was presenting, yes, because I was gonna try to do it at January and the timing didn't work out. And so they were aware that it was on the agenda for this
So they
evening.
don't have much they can do right now anyway.
Right, they wouldn't be doing anything till the
Right.
spring or summer, spring hopefully, because we don't want to do it
Did,
in the summer.
you did not get other quotes, or they were?
This was the cheapest.
Cheapest.
That had, there are cheaper signs out there, I will not lie, but they don't look as nice, I don't think.
That's important.
And
It
I,
is aesthetics.
I mean, and that was one of the
No,
things
what
that
struck
we.
me is this fit in the mood or the atmosphere or something. It
Kind of
mirrors
it
the
looks like it
Right.
belongs to the.
Yeah, I mean, there
Right.
certainly are cheaper things, I mean,
Now, if it were in my apartment, it'd be totally out of place, but because I don't.
one of the advantages is that while there is painting, surfaces that are painted here, it is industrial paint, obviously, it won't weather as fast. We did have a wooden sign, that required painting, quite frequently, probably every other year at least, to weather very quickly, the wood does, so, you know, trying to get away from those types of things. But if the board wants something else, we can certainly do that, that's why we're here.
It looks good.
I would just question how bad would it be to put stone? Just as a,
I can ask for alternatives, you know, they
just out of curiosity.
probably, I can ask them and then,
Were you thinking like all gray then, like?
No, I just.
It looks just
yeah.
like this, but it's just stone instead of painted.
No, she's talking about the cap.
The cap.
I'm talking about.
the
top or the post?
Just
this
the
little
top of the
part
post.
here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were looking for like the actual sign, not just.
Oh, no.
And I see.
So I can ask about that,
I mean, the whole sign in stone would be very expensive because.
Yeah, no, that's why I was,
It's not
Just the
very
caps.
expensive, yeah.
Okay.
What do we have to propose?
Well, that's up to, so you could either approve the sign as is for this price. You can approve the sign, you could do something like approve the sign, potential stone camp something, and maybe say you're not willing to spend more than $20,000. Or, I mean, how much is a stone cap worth to you? I guess is my question, because I'm gonna guess it's not gonna be the same price.
Right, I
So,
would think so.
and I would think it would be more, so it's depending on, you know, how much the board is willing to
How
spend.
long will it take somebody to paint that every 5 years?
That would be easy to do.
Well, I mean, you shouldn't really have to if they're aluminum, you shouldn't really have
So
to,
you might-
there's
it might
no
not
wear
even
and
be an
tear of
issue.
people rubbing up against it or
Right, I mean, it's-
anything like that, I wouldn't think you would have to. Even the posts, which are not full bricks, is that what we're saying here?
They're
That's
like,
what they're building
yeah,
now,
here,
I know.
but they're bricks, but they're not like a.
Yeah, okay, so I
The
mean,
front of my house tried to come first.
They're like a facade over.
yeah, I mean,
Right. So I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I guess it's up to the board, how much are the stone end caps, or top, or they call them end caps, how much is that worth?
column caps.
Column caps,
Copper
sorry.
and column caps.
Yes, how much?
Or do we want more quotes or something? I don't think.
Well, you've gotten several
She's
quotes.
already-
She's
Yeah.
got several quotes for
This is just.
the presentable.
This little disconnect switch, that's not gonna be like easily accessible or not too visible for the public to.
No,
I can see kids playing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I believe they show it there, but I believe it's actually, kind of inside a little bit.
They're probably set in.
Somebody
And this
said
is
that.
cement, right? Right, it's, okay.
Yeah, no one will be driving off with them unless they hit it.
Well,
But if they hit it, we've
well,
got other
there-
issues.
There we go again. And then I'm even looking too if it obstructs vision for traffic.
It's set far enough back that it doesn't, and there's
Georgetown is a
also,
one-way going.
right, and there's also bushes around there that are more of a,
Distraction, the restaurant, it's on Dempster.
Oh,
It's so bright.
Oh,
oh,
already
blinding
yeah.
I think it's blinding when you're driving,
It is.
I think it's dangerous.
Well, no, we decided we weren't gonna do that.
yeah, we're
because
not doing
I don't
that.
want to be somebody living across the street with that sign floating home.
Yeah, this should be this shouldn't be any brighter than, the light that we had shining on the old one that was out there. So, I mean, it's 60 watts, so.
That's not.
It's probably the LED, which is nice.
Right, and it's not even shining on there, it'll be backlit,
From
which I
back.
think will look really nice if this is what the board.
It just says 60 watts, so that's not very bright.
Right. But it's with the LEDs, so.
I like that covered. Well, we already talked about it, messed up the motion part, but, well, I'll make a motion to approve the proposal from Carbon Cloth Sign Company in the amount of $17,998 to be taken from special reserve. Do you want to put that in there?
Or does somebody already do it?
You're good.
Fall for it.
Fall
Yeah, I
rig.
know.
Fall rig.
Lonzo,
Yes.
Novik,
Yes.
Letier, yes, Kuzo?
Yeah.
Calmag,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Isajek,
Yes.
I will ask them, thank you, I will ask them about the stone caps
Just
to see,
curious.
and then, email you guys and let you know if it's close enough. We'll,
All right,
what I
we're talking
put it on for
$50
next month and
deal.
reapprove it or whatever, but I will certainly ask and bring up some of your concerns about, maintenance and how often we'll have to paint, that kind of thing, make make sure that we get those
Well,
things
my
addressed.
question with maintenance is, how do you maintain it? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
It-
yeah.
How do you pay?
How do you do
And-
favorite?
How do you, what happens to the
Yeah,
letters?
so
That is,
So yeah, I'll find out all
Yeah.
that. So my sense is, from I've seen other signs that they've done, is that there's not a lot of maintenance and,
Well,
you
no, I
know,
wouldn't think there would be.
and it may very well be that they recommend that every 5 years or something that someone come out and service it. In which case, you know, it's probably, you know, the time spent or something like that, but I will get all of that information. And if anything is really out of the ordinary, or if I have questions about anything, or feel like that's something that the board may want to reconsider, I won't sign the contract and I'll bring it back in March. But if everything is kind of normal, says, you know, it will require minimal maintenance, that kind of thing, I'll move ahead with that.
Okay, the library trustee forum.
I just wanted that on the agenda to, I know I sent an email to trustees. I only heard from Lima about interest in attending. This one, I know some of you have gone to these in the past and they've not been that great. This one sounds like it's really good. Yeah, so just, if you're interested in attending, let me know. If you're not, that's fine and I will register Lima. It's just if it's easier to register everyone all at once if there's more than one person. So you don't need to decide tonight. You can if you want, or just let me know by the end of.
Do you think like attending part of it? You know, because I know my son has band performances later in the afternoon.
They don't take attendance yet.
I mean, it's, you know, it's voluntary. So I mean, if you
And
got
the morning session, what is the most important?
Yeah, I don't know.
Afternoon usually
These
is
lawyers.
Yeah, it depends on-
The lawyers.
the lawyers, right, but
You don't want to stay for the afternoon lawyer stuff.
I will do it.
So if you're actually interested though, the morning session is being done by Face-to-Face Communications, who is going to be doing our staff in service. They do some other things and they're talking about planning. So, and they're talking about succession planning and that kind of thing. I think,
Saturday.
I would say, because the attorney is actually from Kleinthorpe and Jenkins, if you could stay till noon, if you wanted to go,
We stay till like
I
two, one or two.
I think that would be really great.
I'm going back.
On the beginning of the session.
I think the legislative update,
I used to get updates from them by mail when I was president, and they were excellent.
yeah, the whole day sounds good, but I mean, people have conflicts, I absolutely get it. Like I said, I just wanted to remind you guys, because as I said, it's just a little easier to register everyone at once. But if that doesn't work with your schedule, because I know we're all super busy, but just let me know. Preferably by early next week.
Okay.
So that I can get whoever is interested registered.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, legislative update regarding minimum wage.
I just also wanted to, I'm sure that you have heard.
They've already passed it.
Did it pass
No.
today?
We got it back.
It passed
So-
today.
They passed it.
So, that will obviously impact the budget. I'm already laying awake at night worrying about it, so. The one thing is that we can ease into it just a little, but by 2021, certainly.
6 steps.
Yeah, so, it's a lot and it will certainly impact the salary budget. Not only, there's a certain number of people that make less than this. Many of our clerks actually make less than 15. But the thing is when you're pushing that, that bottom rung up so high, then you have to start making pay adjustments because how fair is that, So, just, again, that, this will obviously have an impact on our budget and not only ours, so that's where we're at. So,
Bring back fines.
yeah, at some point, there are different ways to offset some of that.
From the vending machines.
The price of the vending machines.
Have a hot meal.
The most obvious is that the Morton Grove Public Library is extraordinarily generous with, say, health insurance benefits. The amount that the library pays is, the monthly health insurance bill for someone in the Plan A is $769 a month. As of right now, we require staff to pay $30.
Wow.
So we don't pay any family coverage or anything like that. That's for the individual. And that's actually higher than it's been. I mean, for a long time, it was $10 a month.
The problem with that is then they complain, you give us a raise and then take
Right.
it away.
Right, so, there's ways we can offset some of it, but, and obviously it's not gonna affect everyone. I think our professional staff is, I think they're positioned, we've worked really hard over the past few years to kind of get them comparable to area libraries at least, because we're competing for all those same librarians, and it's a kind of different way, we're competing for a different, I don't wanna say different level of employee, but a different type of employee at the clerk position and shelter position. There will have to be some increase in some of those kind of assistant clerk positions, maybe less so in some of the librarian positions, but,
Doesn't that include the health benefits to retain, or recruit and retain good talent? That's a.
it does, yes and no. I mean, I will be completely honest, a lot of times when people are looking, they're looking at the salary. They're not really, unless you're not offering any kind of benefit for, insurance and those kinds of things. But really, the thing that attracts someone, if they're looking at a job posting, for example, A, is it a job that I can do or that I'm qualified for, but then the next thing is the salary. So, and to be completely honest, we care about what it costs the library to hire someone. The employee doesn't really care. They're like, what is my paycheck? Am I happy in my job? Those kinds of things. To them, that's not an important number for them to know, is what it costs me as an employer to have them as an employee. So, unless it means they get a big raise or something like that, so.
When the cost of insurance goes up for the library, do the employees pay more?
We haven't in the past. And last year, it hadn't gone up from the previous year. This year it did go up a little bit. Last year I bumped it to 30 anyway. It had been 25, before that it had been 10. This year it did go up and I didn't raise it. Next year we don't know what it's going to do, obviously, but just knowing things that are coming down the road, I probably will have to bump that up. Maybe I'll have to look at the numbers. I don't even know.
Right. No, I'm not.
But historically, like both before me and everything, and Blanche can speak to this as well, we did not bump it up. Just that was a cost that the library absorbed.
I think it's time for a change on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When
I
you
think
look
that,
at what workplaces have been bumping up
right,
health costs for years.
Right,
yeah.
yeah,
In reaction to prices
Yeah.
going up.
Now, on the flip side of that, up until fairly recently, we did underpay our staff. Our staff had been underpaid, and that was one of the reasons, kind of one of the, principle behind that. Obviously, was that we were really super generous with the benefits, and so, administration at that point saw that as a kind of a trade-off, that, well, we're paying less, but we're paying more of this. As I said, people don't really think about that as much anymore, unless the burden is so onerous that, in terms of insurance. So, we will have to look at how all that shakes out, and I'll be playing with these numbers soon, since we'll have to start thinking about this. When? July? Is it the first one? Or is it January?
No,
January 20. And actually for us, that works really well, because I'll be planning the budget anyway.
Right.
So, but, just knowing going forward that we're gonna have to make those jumps over the next few years. So, I'll be thinking about this all throughout the year, obviously. I start the budget process usually in June or July or August, depending on, I mean, I get the stuff from the departments in August, but usually I'm already, working on some like the personnel stuff, I start pretty early in the year, so.
All
So,
right.
I, kind of on principle, I think it's a great thing, people have more money to spend on as an employer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
gonna hurt a
it's-
lot of people.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what that is, so I just wanted to bring the board. I hadn't seen any news today, so that was.
Thank you. Okay, communications, I know we have one.
Yeah, there was one note,
That's great.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, public comments, non-agenda items, our public is no longer here. Okay, so now,
Sorry, that's the one, I'm looking to the screen.
Yeah, I did get that suggestion. I have talked to both Melissa Mayberry and the head of adult services, Natalia Fishman, about that. We're considering it, so we've not had any other comments about that. So there's still some question about the necessity. There is also, while we want to be cognizant of people's privacy, this is a public institution. There really shouldn't be necessarily an expectation of privacy. We use no filters on our computers as well. We do occasionally have issue where people are viewing inappropriate material. And so there's a balancing act for us there. While a privacy screen would provide everyone with some privacy, how much is too much privacy, that kind of thing. So we are aware of that. We did get his suggestion. And there is some cost associated with those as well. So we're considering those.
okay. I will make a motion to go into executive session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel as allowed per 5 ILCS 122C1, and the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body as allowed per 5 ILCS 122C6.
You get all that?
Come on. Point one.
Yeah, point 2 in a minute. All right, Noble?
Yes. Writing forever.
No. Pelletier, yes. Puzo?
Yes.
Calabag?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Lisa Jack?
Yes.
Lonzo?
Yes.
It is still 8:12. I will make a motion to
It's still a.
re-adjourn, open, so am I speaking correctly? Open session
Open
for
session.
February 14, 2019. Yeah.
Roll call for open session? Oh, here, yes. Okay. Calabag?
Here, yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Lisa Jack?
Yes.
Lonzo?
Yes.
Novak?
Here.
Pelletier, here. Puzo? Here.
I'm hungry. I haven't eaten yet.
Oh my gosh. Oh, do you want me to?
Yeah, but I'm trying not to do the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept Nidos Shiba's offer of $325K cash for the property.
Located in
6200.
6,200.
I'm not doing motions today.
I'll second.
Where's the tiki? Okay, Gonzalez,
Yes.
Lisa Jack,
Yes.
Lonzo,
Yes.
Novak,
Yes.
Pelletier, yes, Puzo,
Yes.
Calabag.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Not to the closing, wait for the closing.
Okay.
Oh, we are excited.
I know, and then you can't go over there first thing in the morning.
Make sure nothing burns.
Every day.
8:14. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day.
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
Dr. Calvin, got that.
Yeah, he always thinks that.